We are moving on to Unit 3, which is all about control. So up to this point, we have focused on programs that run very linearly. You know, statement run, or the first statement runs, and the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and it just executes one after the other. But if we're being honest, like that's kind of not super interesting programming, right? Because it's just running in orders, not a lot of thought there. It's just doing what it's doing. However, what we're moving towards next, and this is one of the two most powerful things that we're going to cover in computer science A, and that is control. And what I mean by that are things like if statements, which we've seen before. If you're in computer science principles and in JavaScript, they look exactly the same, but it's a way that we actually get to make decisions in our program. Before we get to talk about those, we need to first talk about how we make these decisions. Like, what variables do we use that have these two different states that can switch back and forth? And the answer to that would be these Booleans, which we've already discussed. But what we're going to look at are what are called Boolean expressions. So I have three operators that I'm going to throw up here really quick. So I've got my equals equals, which we've seen before. We've got not equals. We have less than. We have greater than. We have less than or equal to. And we have greater than or equal to. These are all what I usually refer to as comparison operators, or sometimes you'll hear them referred to as relational operators. But what they do is they take in two inputs, one on either side of the operator, and what they return then is a Boolean value, either true or false, depending on the truth value of the situation that they're, or the input that they're taking in. So what does that look like? So let's create a couple. So for example, if I wanted to, I can create a new Boolean. We'll maybe give it a name. How about x is equal to? And then if I want to compare two things, for example, I want to compare to see if 5 is greater than 3. Now we know this to be true, and of course it is. But like I said, this greater than takes in two values. Those two values that are on either side of them have to be numbers. Well, I guess we'll get back to that later. Right now, they're going to have to be numbers. And so in this case, it's taking a 5 in and taking a 3 in and asking itself, is 5 greater than 3? And so it then returns a value, which in this case would be true. And so we could test this out really quick. So maybe if we actually want to see what some of these values are, I could system.out.println. And let's just compare 5 with 3 several times. Let's see if 5 is equal to 3. And then we'll do we'll do some copying and pasting here to make my life easier. I don't know how many do I need. Is that enough? Probably. So I want not equals, and then I want greater than, and then I want less than, and then I want greater than or equal to, and then I want less than or equal to. One too many. And so these are all my relational operators now that compare these numbers together. So I can, if I want to, go ahead and save this and then run it. Let's see, pile. This is fun with Booleans. Nice. Off to a great start. All right. False, true, true, false, true, false. Wonderful. So, I don't think mathematically, none of these statements should be shocking. 5 is obviously equal to 3. 5 not equals to 3, so that would be a false statement. 5 equals to 3 is obviously a false statement. It's not equal, so that would be false here. 5 not equal to 3 here is true. 5 is in fact greater than 3, so that is true. 5 is in fact not less than 3, so this is false. 5 is in fact greater than or equal to 3, so that makes this true. And then finally, last but not least, 5 is not less than or equal to 3. So what's returned each time is the truth value of this statement that we've created. So those are my relational operators, and they're going to go a long ways to help me, talk about or to make some decisions. The one thing I will throw in here, of course, is that we've seen equals equals quite a bit at this point when we've talked about comparing things in the past, and it's just worth remembering that another, and I shouldn't call this a relational operator, but it kind of works in the same way, would be something like dot equals equals in terms of comparing objects, right? That also is something that takes in two values that it's comparing, and then returns true or false based on whether or not they're actually equal to each other in whatever way you've set it up to use the equals operator. So, or the equals method. Sorry, shouldn't call it an operator. All right, so those are the things I'm going to use. Now we need to actually look at how we can use them in a program. And the answer is with this statement, which is if. All right, so if the way it normally looks, if something that goes in these parentheses, then I'm going to do something. So if something in these parentheses, then I'm going to do this thing, whatever's next in here. So for example, we could write a really quick program. Let us take input from the user. Let's say we want to ask and see whether or not someone is potentially capable of getting their driver's license. So what I would do is I would system.out.println, and ask them, how old are you? How old are you? And then I have to remember, so I'm going to get input here, so I need a scanner. So I'll make a new scanner. I'll call it input equals new scanner. Takes in as a parameter. Where am I getting it from? Well, it's system.in. Wonderful. So my new scanner is created. However, I need to actually get the next value. So I'm trying to get an integer here from the user. So I'm going to say, so I'm going to make a new int age equals, and then my scanner input dot next int, because I want specifically an integer value that I can compare. Okay. I think I've done all the things except for, of course, I need to import my scanner class here. So import java.util.scanner, please, so that I can use it. Okay, great. So now I actually want to do some comparing, and I want to be able to tell the person whether or not they're able to get their driver's license or not. So how old are you? I'm going to take my age, and if they have to be greater than or equal to 16, I believe, to get their driver's license. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if age is greater than or equal to 16, then, and so what goes into these braces, I'm going to print out what I want the computer to tell this person. So system.out.println, you can potentially, depending on other factors, get your driver's license. Perfect. Oh, license. Exclamation point. That's an exciting thing. Okay, so if I run this, I should be able to take input from the user, which is me. All right, how old are you? 29. You can potentially get a driver's license. Nice. Fantastic. Let's do this one more time. See what happens. I didn't need to compile again. That's okay. I am 12. Nothing. All right, so nothing happens in that case. So the if statement by itself is kind of limiting to us, but there's some alternative things that I can do as well. So the if is like the base of my control, my control flow here. So there's an additional item that I can add in, which is the else statement. What if I want it to do something if I'm greater than or equal to 16, but then do something else if I'm not? And so I can use my else statement here, and this is how it works. So if I throw an else here after my if statement, so after those braces, I can tell it to instead do something else if I am not. System.out.println. Okay, so if I'm not greater than or equal to 16, I should tell them nice try, come back later. Perfect. All right. Wonderful. So now when I run my same program and I test it the same way, all right, how old are you? So 29, shouldn't change anything. I'm still old enough to get my driver's license. But now when I tell it that I'm 12, it says nice try, come back later. And so now I have an output for both potential cases here, which is great, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so ifs by themselves are useful, but the if-else statement really, changes things and allows me to, make potential different decisions, or multiple different outcomes, I guess, depending on what the input is or what I'm trying to do. And there's even one more layer to this then. So let's say not only do I want to test to see if they're greater than or equal to 16, but like let's say if they are younger than 10, like what are you even doing? So I'm going to test to see if they're greater than 16, which I'm going to leave as is. But next I'm actually going to do a test as well to see if they're greater than 10. So the way that this works is that this is the if-else-if statement. Looks like this. If-else-if, I can add a new conditional, a new if statement here to make another test. So now I want to see if the person is, okay, so I've already tested to see if they're greater than 16. So the only way I'm going to get here is if they're not greater than 16. And so let's say I want to test to see if they're greater than 12. So I'm going to have age is greater than or equal to 12. I'm going to tell them, nice try, come back later. Else, if they're not, you're not even close. Like, what are you doing even asking if you can get your driver's license? And so I'm just going to ask them, what are you thinking? Oh, no, I was doing so well. Thinking. Perfect. Done. Okay, so I've got these three statements now. So my if statement, my else if statement, and then my else. And so I'm daisy chaining these all together to make a decision here. So it's worth noting. Actually, let's run it and see what happens here, because there's one important kind of part about this that we want to note. All right. So if I continue 29, same thing. You can potentially get a driver's license. Awesome. Thank you. If I am, let's go with 14, then it'll tell me nice try, come back later. And then if I am 5, what are you thinking? All right, perfect. So let's think about why this executed the way that it did, because I think there's one thing in here that maybe isn't 100% obvious. So, we only tested, so when I put in that first number, so it was 29, and I put that in, this is true. But the thing is that this is also true. 29 is also makes this statement true. Why did I not get both you can potentially get your driver's license and nice try, come back later? And the answer is that I will only ever execute one of these three things. Whenever I have these daisy chained ifs and else's together, I'm only going to execute one of the things. So what happens is when I enter a number 29 in, so it says yes to this is true, and so I execute this line, and I immediately jump then down to line 15 here and read whatever's there. And so as soon as one of these is true, I execute what's inside, and then I jump down to the end of my else ifs. And so when I put in 14 then, this was false, and so then it tried the next one, which was testing to see if I'm greater than or equal to 12, which was true. And so it executed line 11 here, and then jumped down to the end afterwards. And so lastly, when I put in 5, this was false. So it jumps to the next one, this was false. And so it jumps to finally the last one and executes that line and then jumps to the end of the program. And so point being is that this is what some people refer to as kind of like this waterfalling effect of the order in which you put these statements really, really matters here. Okay? So that's the logic of the if-else statement. There's one other thing that I think is worth noting, just because you'll see it every once in a while, is this. So I still want to test to see if they're old enough to get a driver's license. So my question to you would be, what do you think is going to happen if I say if age is, so let's just stick with the age is greater than or equal to 16, and then next line, I just stick with my congratulations, you can get a driver's license. We'll just go with congrats. See what happens here. Congrats. And then, awesome. And then we'll do one more. System.out.print line. And then get driving. Okay. So, totally change the syntax here. No braces, you'll notice. So my question to you is, like, what do you think is going to happen? So the first thing I'm going to test 29 again, see what happens. So do you think that if I hit 29, am I going to get one of these run, both of these run? And then if I pick a number that's less than 29, will I get none of these run? Will I get one of them run? Will I get both of them run still? Like, what is going to happen here? Well, let us find out, because it might not be obvious. All right, so 29 again. All right, both of them get executed. All right, congrats, get driving. Perfect. All right. So now let's say I am 12, and I hit enter, and I just get driving. Okay, so why is that? Why would that possibly be the case? Well, here's the answer. So if I don't use braces, it is understood that this next line is like part of this if statement here. One thing you'll notice is that the semicolon always goes after a line that is run or executed in Java. And so it's kind of like this is one big line that gets run together. So when the computer's reading this, I get to line 8, it says, if age greater than or equals 16, then do this thing. If not, if age, it just stops here and then jumps to the next line afterwards. So point being is that no matter whatever number I enter in, line 9 will always get executed here. But line 8, it will only get finished out if the number put in was greater than or equal to 16. And so that's why I would never program this way, just FYI. I would always use my braces because what the braces do is anything that gets put inside these curly braces will get executed if age is greater than or equal to 16. Even if I'm just using one line, like, it's still just good practice to use the braces because it makes it obvious what's going on. There, you don't have to really think about it. It's just, you know what's going to happen. But you should be aware of the fact that someone could write code this way, and that's what will occur if they do. One thing that's also worth noting is that, one really easy way to kind of mess up here, and is actually a not uncommon thing, is, we always have to end our lines with semicolons. And so if we put a semicolon here after my if statement, the question is what's going to happen? And the answer is not what we want. So I am 12. You'll notice it tells me both congrats and get driving, and that's because what the computer is reading here is saying if age is greater than or equal to 16, execute this line. Well, what's on this line? Just a semicolon. There's nothing there. And then we just have this random thing in curly braces afterwards. And so this is all going to get executed no matter what. And the semicolon kind of ends that if statement. And so we just don't throw semicolons after this statement. So that is everything we could ever want to know about if statement, if else, and if statements, and then along with our Boolean, our relational operators that produce Booleans for us. So the great thing is that this is one of the fundamental things of programming, is being able to control the flow of our program using these conditionals. So this will be a huge tool for us going forward.